Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We can start off. You want to tell us a little something about yourself?
Certainly. My name's Brian Avon, and I currently serve as an assistant state attorney for Mr. Brad King, who is an excellent public servant. I have served as a prosecutor now for more than a decade. I have tried every single case there is except for unlike Judge Sarah Ritter Half-Williams, I've never had the privilege of trying a capital death case, but I've tried everything from a first-degree murder all the way down to misdemeanor ordinance cases and traffic court cases and county court cases. I spent a good deal of time as a sex prosecutor. I prosecuted sex offenders, I prosecuted homicide cases, I've prosecuted robbery cases, I've prosecuted drug trafficking cases, anything involving a death, anything involving a violent criminal. I have lived and served in Marion County now for over 11 years. My family and I came here. We originally came here in 2003, 2004. I was serving as a teacher. My wife was serving as a nurse. This was before we had our 4 beautiful daughters. And we left for a time and then came back because we loved Marion County. I had the opportunity to interview at several state attorneys' offices. I had them all lined up and scheduled. I met with Brad King, and I knew that that's exactly where I wanted to spend my career because he serves with integrity. And his theme is justice with integrity and diligence, and that's important. That's important for you as citizens because, as you can see, excuse me, crime rates are up. And one of the things that we can count on is that the state attorney's office, we serve with diligence, we serve with integrity, we make certain that whether our decisions are popular or not, they're the right decisions. I love my job. I love to be a prosecutor. I love to be able to serve victims, law enforcement, and deal with the community. One of the things that we are always encouraged to do by Mr. King is if we can increase our ability and capacity to serve, he encourages us to do that. And when I saw that Judge Lant was running unopposed, I decided that we needed a change.
Thank you. What kind of jobs, interests, or volunteer activities did you pursue during law school and to present time?
I'm going to go back a little further than that. My entire career, my entire adult life has been spent in service. From the time I was very young, my mom was a single parent for the first 8 years of my life. And I saw her work harder than any person that I've ever seen work in my life. She had 2 or 3 jobs all of the time. She never asked for assistance. She never asked anyone for help. She worked. And then she met my wonderful dad, who continued to teach me the importance of serving others and working hard. One of the great things about my dad is that regardless of time of day, person it is, he will help anyone, anytime with anything. I love my parents, but neither of them went to college. Neither of them had extremely good paying jobs, but one of the things that they encourage each of us boys to do is to value the importance of education. So I was the first person in my family to get a bachelor's degree. I was definitely the first person in multiple generations to ever go beyond a bachelor's degree. The only person that I know in my family that has a bachelor's degree is my grandfather, who I had very little contact with. But I went to law school. My brothers are all successful for the most part. But we did that because of our parents. So how does that go to community service? From the time I was young, we were serving our community. From the time I was young, we've been involved in every aspect. I'm very active in my church. I'm very active in the community. But I would consider myself a grunt. I have probably moved more people into Marion County and out of Marion County than anyone here. I have been to more schools talking about the law. I go wherever I'm invited to go, just probably like Judge Ritter Half-Williams, Judge Thompson. We do what we do because we love what we do. So I served as an assistant, not necessarily. I served through the public defender's office I also served through, they call it the county court office in Minnesota. I served in Arizona as well in the county court office, both in felony court and juvenile court. Those are things that I did in law school, and since law school, I have been actively engaged in this community. Just take, for instance, Hurricane Irma. The courthouses were shut down, so me and my 2 daughters spent every day, no water, no power, nothing else to do but go out and to serve Marion County residents. Trees were down, we cut them up, we removed them. Houses were unable to be lived in, we helped muck them out, we helped move things, I'm a grunt. I'm not very big, but one of the things that I can offer is that I have a strong back. So I will do anything for anyone at any time, and that's my time.
Thank you. As a prospective judge, what do you consider your greatest strengths and your weaknesses?
I want to start with my weakness. As most of these judges have pointed out, we work for Brad King. I have spent my entire legal career in the criminal law field. And one thing that I can say is that I have very little experience as a civil attorney. However, when I was given a sex case docket, I had no experience prosecuting sex crimes. So I learned everything that I could, because there is no way that I was going to go into that court unprepared. There is no way that I was going to look in the mirror and know that the reason that this case was won or lost is because of me. I had the excellent experience early on in my career to conduct a deposition with a very senior homicide attorney from our office, and he said, I have never lost a case. And even way back then, I knew better. I knew that if you've tried cases, there have been people that have been found not guilty. If you've been in that courtroom, there are times that you win, and there are times that you lose. And what this attorney pointed out to me is he has never lost a case. He has always been prepared. He has always known every bit of evidence and testimony that's involved in that case. He has always known the case law. He has always been aware of the statutes. And so although there are things that he would have done differently in probably each and every trial, regardless of whether there was a guilty verdict or a not guilty verdict, he has done his very best. And that's what I can tell you, is that each and every case that I have conducted a trial of, and there are over 123, I have done my very best. I have served this community with integrity and diligence every single day. And I take my job very seriously. I take my responsibility very seriously, because we're talking about people's lives. We're talking about people's futures. In fact, I just prosecuted an individual by the name of Gabriel Bowen. He broke into 2 houses. He is 19 years old, and he was just released from prison in May of 2017. He is now serving a life sentence and will be tried again in June for the 2nd burglary that he committed. So these are very important decisions that we're making. These are very vital to our community, and we need to do our best to be prepared, to be diligent, and to serve with integrity.
Brian, have you ever been disciplined by the Florida Bar?
Like Judge Thompson and Judge Sarah Ritterhoff-Williams, she may have had this experience, she may not have. But when people get significant prison sentences, they have a lot of time to write. And so certainly there have been complaints, there have been complaints with the Florida Bar, but never once have I been required to respond to one of those complaints. So essentially, they read the individual's letter, they reviewed my actions in the case, and they didn't even ask for a response. I have never been disciplined, nor do I ever plan to be disciplined. And that's because I know that the integrity means that we are the same person when no one is watching as we are when every single person is watching what we're doing. Amen. And that has to be our philosophy, whether we're on the bench or off the bench, whether we're in the courtroom or out of the courtroom.
Thank you. Brian, why should voters support you over your opponent?
Ladies and gentlemen, we need a change in Marion County. We need a change because I want to step back. Judges are required to be fair and impartial. They are required to follow the law. They are required to leave their bias, prejudice, sympathies outside of that courtroom. So how do you look and determine whether or not a judge is being fair and impartial and following in the law? May I suggest that you look at their appellate record? The state attorney's office has filed appeals against my opponent 8 times.
Wow.
8 appeals. 4 of those, he has been reversed. 1, he has been affirmed, and the rest are pending. That is unacceptable in Marion County. So what about his civil experience? He's been appealed and reversed 8 times on civil matters. Ladies and gentlemen, again, that is unacceptable. I love what I do as a prosecutor. I love working for Brad King. But again, he has encouraged all of his attorneys that if you can have a greater influence, if you can impact your community to a greater degree, it's a calling. You need to go and do that. And that's why I'm running for Marion County Judge.
Thank you. Ryan, do you possess any expertise in the field other than law?
I'm so glad my wife's not here. She would say no. But one of the things that I feel like I've developed through my life is a love for people, regardless of whether they are that hardened criminal or whether they are that victim that just needs someone to talk to and to advocate for them. I love people. I don't know if you can be an expert in loving people, but I also have a great deal of respect for the men and women that serve our country, whether they serve in the military, whether they serve law enforcement, or whether they're those first responders. It's important to note that every single case that comes in front of the state attorney's office has been investigated by law enforcement. Those first responders oftentimes put their lives on the line so that they can respond, so that they can serve us as residents of Marion County. I am very grateful for that. And so, I wouldn't say that I'm a great golfer. I wouldn't say that I definitely would not say that I am a great cook, but I love serving. I love these people.
Thank you. Do you feel the war on drugs has been effective?
Unfortunately, the criminal justice system is not set up to properly deal with drugs. It is getting much better. I would say Judge Ritterhoff-Williams, Judge Thompson, those of us that have worked in the state attorney's office have recognized an increased change in the way that individuals that have addictions are dealt with. It used to be we're just going to talk about incarcerating these people, and now we have things like mental health court, drug court, DUI court, on the felony veterans court. On the felony level, we also have 2 different phases of drug court, and they're trying to get more specialized courts. I agree with Judge Thompson. We should be punishing the drug traffickers. We should be punishing those that are creating the problem. But we also need a better way to deal with addiction. Judges are limited by the resources that they have as to what they can do. One of the things that every single judge must do is follow the law. And if the law requires incarceration, that's what the law requires.
Thank you. Last one. If the Constitution and your religious beliefs are not the same, which will you side with?
That is a very difficult question for me because I hold my religious beliefs very close and very dear. But if I take the responsibility to be a judge, and I promise each of you to serve with integrity, meaning that I will be fair and impartial and follow the law, I must follow that law, whether I agree with it or don't agree with it. There is no way that a judge should have more power or sway on a law or an action than any other citizen. They are there, like Judge Thompson said, to call balls and strikes. They are there to be an umpire. No longer will I be an advocate for the state attorney's office. No longer will my job be to prosecute criminal offenders. My job will change. My job will be to be fair and impartial and to follow the law.
Thank you. With that, any closing statements, please?
Ladies and gentlemen, I would ask each of you to do your research. I would ask you to, in this day and age, Google. Try to find as much information as you can about the candidates. We have a website. It's vote4aven.com. We also have a Facebook page that can be found the same way. Find out as much as you can about the candidates, and then vote your conscience. Vote for someone that will be fair and impartial. Vote for someone that will follow the law, whether they agree with it or disagree with it. Vote for someone that will treat people with respect and dignity in each and every matter that comes before them. And I would ask you to vote for Brian Avon, County Court Judge, Group 4, on August 28th. Thank you.
You agree, Brian?